I was at the peak. I was at the mountaintop. I had a $1,000 GPU with a 4080, and I switched to an A770, a lowly $300 GPU. How did it fare? How did I feel? Let's find out. I know what you're thinking. Why would anyone subject themselves to such a downgrade? Well, it was not on purpose, guys. My 4080 gave out on me, and which is kind of sus because I was trying to sell it a couple months ago. My thoughts, I am very tempted to sell my 4080 for $1,100. Like I said, anyone in the comments, you like the way this 4080 Zotac model looks? Send me an email. Look on my channel description, send me an email, silicon.steak@gmail.com, and maybe we could work something out and I could sell you my 4080. But yeah, it gave out on me. I was kind of forced to send my 4080 in for an RMA. The thing was black screening every 5 minutes, giving me just black screens of death. I couldn't get back into Windows. And some of this was from the recent driver that Nvidia released. Man, Nvidia drivers were just getting worse and worse. And guys, I gotta say, it was not a fun experience. I have a multi-monitor setup and it was not going good for me. It was hard to get signed in and actually get work done because I had work to do, videos to edit, thesis to write, all those things. So black screen after black screen, multi-monitor madness, and the drivers had just been getting worse and worse with Nvidia. So there was actually two kinds of black screens. There was a black screen that all of a sudden all my screens would go black, or at least just one of them, and there was nothing I could really do other than turn my computer off or switch to another monitor. And at that point, you know, the graphics card is still working. This is a driver issue, I think. And so far it's been fixed. As far as I know, it's kind of funny. Right when I sent my GPU out for an RMA, they fixed this issue on the driver side, which was like crazy. I'm like, cool. But it turns out my GPU had a hardware issue to where I think this was something to do with the 12-volt high power. Yeah, I get that. I mean, what problems does that thing not solve? But that connector, I think, would get loose or something on my graphics card. And then all of a sudden, my GPU would black screen all monitors and the fans would go up 100%. Yeah, not cool at all. So I had to get rid of that 4080. I still had a 3-year warranty on my Zotac card, or I guess 2 years at that point. So I sent it into Zotac and they're like, cool, we're gonna need a month to fix this thing and test it and maybe send you a new one. I said, fine. I have an A770 in my mini PC. Let's get this thing going. I actually played a lot with the boys over this past month, so I got a lot of gaming in and I got to try out this A770, and not only gaming, but also video editing and just also just office work and everyday use. I pretty much used it almost every day for 30 days. So today we're gonna talk about my thoughts from the riches of the 4080 to the rags of the A770, $1,000+ GPU to $300 GPU. Let's talk. So, you know, all those things with Nvidia, I was done. I had to switch to an A770. I said, let's get it. I have the 16 gig version, the Acer Bifrost edition. Pretty nice card. I gotta say, pretty nice card. Although the cooling on this thing really does suck. It's not good at all, despite it being like a dual fan design. The very first thing I did was DDU. I nuked all drivers on my system, graphics drivers, because, you know, I know that switching GPU brands, this is a big issue, so I wanted to make sure I didn't have any driver issues. But despite me doing DDU, I did have some driver issues. I was able to play games just fine, but for some reason, when I went to certain parts, an area, like in a certain game, like when I was climbing a ladder in Minecraft, or I went to like a cabin in Hunt Showdown, my screen would just do all this, I don't even know what you would call it. It would just smear. And it's like nothing I've ever seen before. Imagine an old TV set when you lose connection and the pixels like smear all over the screen. That's basically what was happening to me. Never seen anything like that before. And it only happened when I went to certain areas in certain games. So really weird there. And I was like, whatever. I waited till a new driver came out with IntelliArc drivers, and I updated it and that issue went completely away. And after that, yeah, I had very minimal issues with Arc, actually none really. And guys, this is cool to say. Like Arc came a long way. 2 years ago, this graphics card architecture had so many issues that it was a non-contender at any price. Even at $1, you're like, no, time is money. I can't buy this thing and waste all my time. But now, even in professional applications, I edited videos with this, guys. It was working just fine, like totally just fine. Actually, the experience was better than the recent Nvidia drivers I was having. And I know my card was kind of broke, so it's not a perfect comparison, but man, those recent Nvidia drivers were really causing me a lot of headache there. So yeah, I have only good things to say about the drivers after I updated them. However, the performance of the graphics card in general, I wasn't too happy with. Over time, I was yearning for my old GPU, the 4080, and I felt like a peasant. I felt like I was poor, and that's not a good thing. You know, when you have like the best hardware, when you have the best stuff, you don't really think it matters too much. You're like, oh, whatever. Like, I don't really notice. Like, I wouldn't notice if I switched this out. Like, I was thinking that for months. You guys saw it in videos. I was like, I'm thinking I'm going to sell this 4080, get an A770, and, you know, pocket $1,000. But man, it was hard. It was hard. Like, we have just low FPS across the board compared to my 4080. I have 4K monitors, so I have to play at 4K. I did resolution scale as low as it can go in some games, and I was still getting less FPS than max 4K with my 4080. So I don't have like a lot of testing for you guys today. I just wanted to give you kind of general thoughts on my whereabouts of the 4080 A770. I could do testing if you guys are interested in that, but just to give you a general idea, I saw my 4080 probably outperforming the A770 by 3 times. It's probably about 3 times faster, especially when you add DLSS and all that. The 4080 was getting about 3 times the FPS as my A770 would. So yeah, I was lacking. I was lacking for sure. And when I was editing, it didn't feel any more responsive on the 4080 system than my A770 system. So if you need an editing PC with a good amount of VRAM, the A770 16 gigabyte, at least for the Premiere Pro that I tested, it was great. I paired it with a 13700K, so I had some integrated graphics accelerating the performance there a little bit. But yeah, with that combo, I had 64 gigs of RAM as well. It was really, really good. So I guess I should probably go over the specs of my system. I haven't really done that. So this system is running a 13700K at 5.4 on the P cores and 4.4 on the E cores. And the cache is running at 4.7 gigahertz. We have 64 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM at 3200 CL16. So nothing crazy on the RAM there. Overclocked the CPU just a little bit. And yeah, as far as editing, as far as Premiere Pro, couldn't tell a huge difference between the A770 and the 4080. So if you want to save yourself about $1,000, maybe $800, get the A770 if you're just editing. For me, honestly, I did not notice a difference. Did not have any crashing. Did not crash once with my A770. And that's kind of crazy because with my 4080, I do have a couple crashes here and there. I only edited 2 or 3 videos with my A770 in that month's time. With the 4080, crashing doesn't happen often either, so I'd probably count that as a 0. Like, not any one up on one or the other there, but for professional performance and video editing software, Premiere Pro, A770 gave me a pleasant surprise. And if I just built a build just for editing, I'd probably use the A770, not gonna lie. You know, one aspect that ARC really was lacking for me was Unreal Engine 5 performance, which for the most part, I don't even play a ton of those Unreal Engine 5 games, but me and the boys, me and my friend Sawyer, if you remember him from one of my very early episodes, we like playing this game called Sparking Zero.
Very serious when I get into
Dude,
it.
is this canon?
Here you go.
I had to lower the resolution scale all the way down, play on like medium or low settings, and I still was getting stutters. The game's capped at 60 FPS, but I was just getting some stutters here and there, and I know that's just because it's an Unreal Engine 5 game, and ARC doesn't handle those well. So if you like those new Unreal Engine 5 games, the A770 is really not for you. I'm just gonna be honest, you could probably just get a 4060 and it would be better than the A770 for those. But here's the kicker, all right, because I didn't test an 8 gigabyte graphics card, and I didn't run that. I would never dare do that to myself, run an 8 gigabyte graphics card. I know the horrors, but this thing was 16 gigs, and I looked at hardware info, hardware monitor, whatever, and often I was getting above 12 gigabytes of VRAM utilization, even when playing with a low resolution scale. And sometimes I maxed it out at like 16 gigabytes, just straight on the dot, 16 gigabytes of VRAM utilization, or 15.9, whatever. And yeah, so that made me realize if you're thinking about downgrading, you gotta make sure you got your VRAM in order. Performance is one thing, but VRAM is another, guys. If you run out of VRAM, you're basically equal to a GT 710 or integrated graphics, right? So make sure you get a card with at least 12 gigs for my testing. And I'm not always playing at 4K, guys. Like sometimes I'm playing at 1080p in these games, and it's still using over 8 gigs. Very rarely was I using anywhere close to 8 gigs or below. It was usually 10, 12, 14, even 16 gigs of VRAM. And a lot of the games I was playing weren't even that modern. So for sure, you're gonna want a GPU with 12 gigs of VRAM or more if you're planning on downgrading at all. So another thing I wanted to talk about is this Bifrost A770 runs really hot. Blower and a flow through to fan design does not work very well. It's a 2-slot card and it uses like 200 watts. And you think that would be enough, but no, it's not. I've actually installed the graphene pad from Thermal Grizzly, I forgot what it's called, on my A770. So that helps the performance over stock a little bit by like 1 or 2 degrees. But I mainly did that just so I never have to open that thing back up. I was planning on keeping my A770 for a long time because I don't know if it has a ton of resale value, but I think it's a pretty good GPU, and it's cool to have first gen of Arc, I think, just forever, the 16 gig version. Also, another thing, and this is the biggest downside, surprisingly, to running the A770 is it doesn't look sexy and it doesn't feel sexy. I don't feel powerful when turning my PC on. And for me as a hardware enthusiast, I like turning my PC on and just seeing the glory of my big honking GPU, knowing that whatever I throw at it, it's gonna be able to handle it. And yeah, it's a big deal for me. It's a big deal that I'm not as excited to get on my PC and start stressing it out just because I know it might not always be able to handle it. And the GPU, it being a little dinky 2-slot card compared to my massive 4-slot 4080, it's just not as sexy. And I don't have as fun tinkering with it as I thought I would in my main rig. I love tinkering with the A770 in my mini PC, but for my main rig, it's just not as sexy running it daily as I thought it'd be. Did I keep the A770, or did I RMA my 4080 just so I could get it back and slip it right back in my main rig? Well, I gotta say, guys, I was hurting. I wanted more performance and I needed it. So yes, right when I got my 4080, the very hour I got my 4080 back from Zotac, I put it back in my main rig and I was gaming. I was playing Doom, The Dark Ages, which was a new game that I didn't even attempt to play on my A770. It was out, I had Game Pass, but I did not play it on my A770 because I knew that it was gonna be compromised. In my 4080 now, running it at 4K, max settings with DLSS performance or balanced, I think, at 100 plus FPS, and it's glorious. I love it. So yes, did I go with the 4080 over the A770? Of course. It's a $1,000 GPU. And the main reasons is because I feel powerful. I feel sexy. I feel like I could pick up a woman when I have the 4080 in my system. The A770, I could probably pick up a kitten and struggle. It's not good. So yeah, I used the 4080 because it's powerful. Something I wanted to talk about is not having the best hardware. And I know the 4080 is not the best, but let's be real, guys, it's pretty close. It meets my needs. Not having the very best makes you yearn, makes you love hardware again. I don't know, I was man, I just need to upgrade. I just want a 5090 now. I was craving, I'm just gonna blow $3,000 on a 5090, which when I had my 4080, I never even thought of that. I never thought that would be a good idea at all. So it just gives you a different perspective on hardware. When you have low-end hardware, all you think about is what could it be better, what could be better when I have the high end. And when you have the high end, it takes your focus off that. And sure, it's great because it shifts to other things oh, well, let me play this game now. Let me actually game. But me, I just like hardware. I like tinkering. I like building new things. And when I have the very best, I don't feel the need to do that. When I have the low end, I was like, man, I want to upgrade. I want to get a Arrow Lake system 5090, like 9,000 megatransfers RAM, all this stuff. And when I had my regular build, it just met all my needs, so I didn't feel that way. When I was gaming, I could see the blurriness of all the games I was playing because I was playing them at lower resolution, with resolution scale, you know, maybe a different upscaler, all those things. And I could see blurriness, I could see ghosting a lot more. And it made me realize, yeah, like what I paid for the 4080 was worth it, man. Like it really was. If you enjoy this hobby, if you have, you know, just a little bit of time to play and you want it to be a good experience, paying $800 or even $1,000 for a GPU you're gonna use every day for years, it can be worth it, guys. I mean, I can see why people are paying these scalpers. I personally don't pay scalpers, but I can see why these people are doing it because it makes a big difference, dude. It does. And lastly, I just want to say I admit that I am needy. I have needs, woman. I have ding dong needs, and those needs include a high-end graphics card that I have to use daily. It gives me that signature feel of superiority, and I gotta say I love it. And overall, this experiment of switching to ARC for the A770 for 30 days was good. It was not what I expected. I thought I'd be totally satisfied with the performance, considering a lot of the games I play aren't that demanding. But for the odd chance I do play a game that is demanding, it's nice to have that performance. And when it's not there, it's severely lacking. And let's just say I'm willing to open up my wallet to get more performance. And good thing I didn't have to. There is a video coming up, it might already be out, about me doing the RMA process with Zotac. So go ahead and click here to watch that video of me doing the RMA process with Zotac. If you want to know what RMA looks like for a GPU, it was my first time. I did it successfully, so you'll have to go watch that and see how that process works. It shouldn't be a long video. It wasn't too complicated. But what do you guys think? Are you rocking an A770? Would you ever want to upgrade, or are you totally fine with the performance? Me personally, I'm totally cool with it in my secondary build, gaming on it that way. But in my main rig, I want uncompromised performance personally. And that's why I have the 4080 back, and it's not going anywhere. I'm not selling it to you guys anymore, so sorry. The 4080 to the A770 to back to the 4080, and I gotta say, I wouldn't have it any other way. Let me know what you think. Silicon Steak, signing out.
Ever review every spec, he's on deck. From GPUs to CPUs, he knows it all. No question too big, no detail too small. He's got the knowledge, he's got the skill. When he drops his take, the haters stand still. Fanboys can cry, but they can't deny. Silicon Steak's truth cuts through the lie.